Why is it on the question of the kingship of Jesus that Pilate had been obliged to judge Jesus? The answer is simple. Pilate had been administrator of the Roman Empire. In the Roman Empire, there had been only one king, the emperor. When the Jews bring Jesus before him, they say he was guilty of blasphemy. He had made himself God. They had nothing substantial, so say to Pilate, nothing at all, and Pilate had no interest, would let the Jews judge Jesus themselves and whip him a little. But if the Jews ever had said to him he called himself King of the Jews, then there are other more serious issues for consideration, and Pilate had been forced to judge Jesus. What could he do? He had to question Jesus, therefore, are you king? And it is Jesus' response that had allowed them to deeply understand that Jesus had not at all been a political danger, because his royalty had nothing to do with any crime or less of majesty. This is what Jesus answered, and it can be found in John chapter 18, verse 36. My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my people would have fought so that I will not be delivered to the Jews, but my kingdom is not of this world. Pilate then replied to him, so you are king? Jesus said to him, you say so, which means, yes, I am king. I was born, I came into the world to bear witness to the truth. Whoever is the truth listens my voice. Is it possible that with the explanation Pilate, who was intelligent, understood that the kingdom of which Jesus speaks of is a spiritual kingdom? At worst, if he does not understand, he will say to himself, the kingdom of which Jesus speaks of is a kingdom of enlightened people and which has nothing to do with politics. Besides, he understood this. Jesus never took up arms. Certainly, he had made an entry into Jerusalem mounted on a donkey, but it had been certainly not a royalty conquest. Jesus had nothing to do with the other messiahs which they had to execute or begun years at the level of the Roman Empire and the King Herod, who had raised armies. So, how do we define this royalty of Jesus? It is certainly not political. It is a royalty by the truth. By telling the truth about the King of the Kings, the Creator of the world, Jesus will reign over hearts for a simple reason. The human heart hides a secret. At the bottom of the human heart there is a basin which can only be filled by the true God, as a void, which means that as long as we do not know the true God, we remain in the anguish. Whoever this true God is not a God of power that fulfills aspirations that remain shallow in man, glory, etc. We know what it is, and that these remain frankly animal. No, the heart, soul, at the depth of the heart of the man, on the mystical level, has been created for the true God, so that the soul may see God face to face. The human heart is therefore not a soft wax plate made for anything at all. We have been created to see God. As a result, when Jesus had preached of the Father and of his love and humility and of his light, so that mankind are attracted by his preaching, he had said this himself, when you have raised the Son of Man, I will draw all men to me. Why? Because being God upon a cross, he reveals indeed who the true God is, and therefore the mystical heart of man, sometimes more developed in woman than in man, more present, is attracted to God. To the power of Christianity comes from its message, the true God, and the absence of power of all the false gods of glory comes precisely from the fact that they do not correspond to the human heart. So by testifying to the truth, Jesus had been therefore accessing his kingdom before Pilate, and Pilate will help him realize this by all the tortures that he had imposed upon Jesus with human concepts in order to save him, but in fact, finally, we will not longer be in position to doubt who the Father truly is.